child actors recover and live on to entertain the world, and none have done it quite like our good friend Corey Feldman. Of course, I can go on and on about that, and I will! But for tonight, I wanted to shed some light on the first leading role Corey landed after conquering rehab in the early 90s, where we saw a rejuvenated Corey Feldman, more ready and more eager than ever, and probably as healthy as we'd ever seen him as well. In a lot of ways, this would act as his first movie from his iconic 90s sober run, and right off the bat, he landed a leading role in an original summer camp movie, whose script also had some heavy dramatic elements, something that caught Corey's eye. So with the attachment of Corey Feldman to this Dead in the Water project, Happy Campers was finally greenlit to shoot. You know, maybe that was a little too forward saying, Dead in the Water project. I'll say, rather, the soon-to-be Dead in the Water project. Let's get back to that later. For now, let's get back to shore, and I'll explain it all.
Welcome to Lakeside, where some of the hottest skiers have just landed a new hero.
I want you to meet our new recreation director, Ricky Way!
The film was produced by who I consider to be a legendary producer, Donald P. Borchers, who brought us classics like Angel, Tough Turf, Children of the Corn, Vamp, as well as many, many others, and would even work with both Meatballs 4 stars Corey Feldman and Jack Nance again down the line. And it would be Donald P. Borchers himself who got a hold of cult film director Bob Logan, of Repossessed fame, to jump on here as director. So, he was thinking it out, and he even made a quick on-the-spot deal with Donald Borchers to do the film. That's when he found out there wasn't even a script to this thing yet. There wasn't even a story. There wasn't even a title. And all they had was a 1-week script deadline, in fact, and the enticing idea of a summer camp movie. So, upon renegotiating his deal, Bob Logan officially signed up for camp. First order of business, Bob Logan locked himself in a hotel room for 7 days to knock out his script, which he wrote completely naked as hot showers helped his process, so to speak. Yeah, rewatch the movie knowing that. So with 7 days of sopping wet nude goodness, he produced the script for an original story, Happy Campers. Bob Logan stated that he was simply a gun for hire, but that he still brought his 6-shooter. And he also had a pretty rough time shooting from what I found, especially shooting in the water on such a low budget. He referred to it as directing Jell-O, as well as, having issues with shooting in between mountains and the sunlight and trying to keep up with the lighting, and especially the high altitude. That was pretty bad for a lot of the cast. And in particular, there was a horrific thunderstorm, but more on that thunderstorm later. And 2 days after wrapping the film, Happy Campers, a summer camp movie, 2 days after it actually snowed. The studio did need a bankable star, though, to get the film up and running. And Corey, well, he needed a leading role. So soon negotiations began, but not without Bob Logan first meeting with Feldman and explaining how rough the shoot's gonna be. Producers didn't want Corey slipping up, you know what I mean, fresh out of rehab and whatnot. But Feldman vowed to do the best work he'd ever done, and even brought along a friend to make sure he stayed straight, all on his own, and he gave it his all. And Bob Logan said he was a pro for the entirety of the shoot. But even Corey wasn't immune to the elements. And when he recommended doing a dance number, as he usually does in his films, the good ones at least, well, Bob Logan, he really didn't want to, but they had some time in the schedule, so he let Corey cut loose with another iconic dance scene. I fucking love this one. But promptly upon filming the scene, Corey passed out due to the high altitudes and got pretty sick as a result. But in true Fell-Dog fashion, he recovered and was ready to roll the next day like a real pro.
He's got charm.
Oh, thank you, Victor. Oh.
He's a natural-born leader.
2 weeks in, secretly one of the producers, Ken Holloway, bought the rights to the Meatballs name. Something director Bob Logan had no clue about, and neither did any of the actors at this point. Production had already been going for about 3 weeks. So they were all blindsided with a surprise that the film they'd been making is now a sequel to the smash hit Meatballs 3.
She's sent to Earth to earn her wings.
I think I've gone from horny to crazy.
And the whole place goes topsy-turvy when she turns the camp nerds into the last word in love. So join Sally Kellerman
Get some rest, kid. Tomorrow's a big day. Come with me.
in Meatballs 3.
Well, both Logan and Feldman were pissed, as they immediately, correctly assumed that this was the producer's, well, I guess more so Don Borcher's plan all along. They then were forced to add nudity and teen tropes throughout, you know what I mean? But in Bob Logan's defense, he used clever ways to do it, like with pranks, If you're going to have nudity in a summer camp movie, and you don't want it to be too gratuitous, do a summer camp prank where you put dye in the water or whatever they did. I actually remember watching this on USA Up All Night. I think it was when Godfrey was hosting. They showed this along with Round Trip to Heaven and South Beach Academy. All edited, of course, but I still love them. They're kind of a weird little trilogy of sex romps. I just love those weird Feldman movies. But, I mean, even with all that being said, there is still more to Meatballs 4. I mean, Logan did care enough. So, the filming jet skied on regardless, and in my opinion, the resulting film is a classic no matter what went down during production, because unfortunately, that wasn't the only drama unfolding on set. Not when it came to star Jack Nance. Now, Jack Nance, there's a pretty heartbreaking story here. I made a video about it. I'll link it up there if you want to hear the whole thing. But basically, he was having trouble with his wife at the time of filming. A lot of trouble. And he was out there separated from her in the elements. And basically, his wife started calling real manic one night during a thunderstorm, as a thunderstorm was hitting. She said she was going to harm herself if he hung up on her. At that point, the power goes out. So Jack freaked out, ran to Bob's cabin, and basically begged him for help. They needed to get back in touch with her. They had to find out what happened. But after a long, harrowing night, it turns out, yes, she followed through with her threats. And it was all due to a big mistake. And, Jack only took a few days off to attend the funeral and whatnot before he showed back up on set. And the first scene he had to film was with who plays his daughter in Meatballs 4, who has the same name as his wife, and it's a heartbreaking scene where he breaks down and says he failed her and whatnot. And needless to say, that was a rough day on set from talking to Bob. So you can check out my Jack Nance video. I also did an old video about Meatballs 4, but it didn't age very well, but there's interviews there with Bob Logan. All interesting stuff, but I'm breaking it all down for you right here.
Kelly, sweetheart, forgive me.
Oh,
Jack Nance would go on to work with Don Borchers multiple times again, including in the films Voodoo, also with Corey Feldman, and one of my yearly Halloween views, Little Witches. Check out the reviews for those next. However, Feldman didn't want anything to do with Borchers due to the double cross, as Corey had no intentions of his comeback film being a sequel to Meatballs 3. And he kind of felt cheated, rightfully so.
Come on, guys, let's do it. Come on, anything's possible if you want it bad enough. Look at Michael Jackson.
But he and Borchers would eventually make peace, and they would go on to make Voodoo, another yearly Halloween film of mine. And after the squashing of the beef, went down, Don Borchers offered to use some connections to help Corey press and print, and even help distribute on some level, Corey's first studio album, Love Left. Although it remained largely unreleased on a professional level, part of the reason that album exists is kind of due to Don Borchers, sort of. So, that's nice that the boys made up. And lucky for us all, that's a great album. I've been thinking about reviewing that album. You want me to do that? Let me know down below. And after all of it, Don Borchers and Corey Feldman remain friends today. Donald was even interviewed in Jake Perry's documentary, Corey Feldman, Artist, the Man Behind the Love, which was edited by yours truly, and you can find the documentary now in Corey Feldman's official box set, link in description. Bob Logan would go on to direct more films, but mainly went on to write, as that was his thing anyways, was being a writer. And Corey would go on to an extremely eventful 90s. You can see my reviews of all those films here, but all the while he would be touring and writing music, either solo or with his band Truth Movement, who would take part of these like live, surreal, of the moment rock performances that it really is a sight to behold that most people don't even know about. You know, the film had a limited release in March of 1992 and would basically bomb in its run, but would really thrive on video, which was the plan anyways. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, what I would call video stars here in this film, like J. Trevor Edmond. And ultimately, I mean, it is part of the Meatballs franchise, for better or worse. Like, think about it. Dog could potentially meet up with Meathead and Ronnie Miller. You know what I mean? What the hell? And I kind of wish they carried the fantastic elements across from the franchise here, because it got pretty weird with parts 2 and 3. And while the first Meatballs is a fairly straightforward movie, you know, part 3 deals with like a ghost trying to get a young Ronnie Miller laid, who is a carryover character from part 1, so this is a legit franchise. So check this out, Meatballs 4, alternate plotline. Meathead's ghost comes back to help Corey Feldman bone Ronnie Miller.
I was in Goonies.
Have you ever seen Meatballs 4? What do you think? I love talking Dog or two Corys with you fellas, and I plan on doing it more in another form. I'm going to be uploading a channel update soon, so be sure to hit that notification bell and follow me on Instagram, why don't you? And smash that like button.
It's a race for survival.
Give me my skis.
Meatballs 4, to the rescue.
Rest in peace, Jack Nance. Long live Corey Feldman. Staunch gang, until next time. Don't forget to rewind.